Where are we at here? There we go. All right. Here we are at Up for Discussion here at Ultra Products this evening. Tonight, it's kind of interesting. It's just me and Lathan here on set this evening, and should be an interesting conversation.
Just us.
That's right. Just the two of
It
us.
seems like it shouldn't be just us. It's me and Wes tonight, not just me.
We got the power duo in the house.
Right on.
All right.
We're late, but it's that time of year. People in the shop, it's a good thing.
Yeah, if you guys are just tuning in, the reason we're late is because life is interesting. And we've been cranking out bow work here in the shop and making sure that guys are taken care of, making sure that bows shoot straighter, faster, further, and they do it well. So
straight arrows, beautiful fletchings.
That's right.
I was trying to be poetic.
All the beautiful people came in today to get their bows worked on.
Beautiful bows.
That's right.
Hello, Paul, and hello, Rob.
Yeah. Hello to everybody who's watching this evening. If you guys are just tuning in, this evening we are talking about something that for the last 3 days I have been fired up about.
Oh boy.
And I don't want to say we're going to get political, but there's an element of it that's a little bit political.
Oh boy.
So what we're talking about tonight is the hunter becomes the prey, and we'll get a little bit deeper into that here shortly. This is episode 33 of Up for Discussion, The Hunter Becomes the Prey. This episode is sponsored by Ultra Products here in Fairfield, Illinois. We are a bow shop that offers a full line of bows and bow-related equipment. We also offer all sorts of work in the shop. If your bow needs tuned, if your arrows need cut, if you need fletchings, we do it all. So we enjoy it. That's what we love. And because of that,
one-stop bow shop.
That's right. One-stop bow shop, Ultra Products here in Fairfield, Illinois.
Yeah. And we enjoy it.
That's right.
We like it. And when you like something, you always do it better.
Yeah. You take care of the things you love.
That's right.
So, all right. Are you ready to get started with this?
We'll break us into this because you shared with me a little bit, and I thought, well, I'll get to ponder that before we go on.
Did you ponder much?
We got busy, so what I was pondering was getting arrows fletched as fast as I could because guys were wanting to shoot them this evening.
Yeah.
And thus arrows got did, and the pondering did not get did.
No pondering happening.
So I didn't get a whole lot. So here's what we're doing this evening. Wes is a little more versed.
Yeah.
A little more studied on the subject. And then I'll just react to what I learn as we go. He did share with me a little bit about it. And I would say that our mindsets will align.
Yeah.
I will be in agreement with what you're.
And if they don't, that's okay too.
Well, I'm just saying ours will.
Yeah.
If you're out there and they don't, you know, everybody, you know, we can get 100 people in a room and ask them what color the sky is, and no one's going to agree that it's blue.
Yeah. And I would love to hear, you guys' thoughts. If you're like, hey, I don't agree with that, what you're saying, I'm not on board with, whatever. We're okay with a little dissension among the ranks, per se.
Yeah, I mean, different opinions.
Yeah, sure.
So voice your opinion. Feel free to.
Well, here's the thing.
It's called free speech, right? You said we're going to get political a little bit.
I mean, currently in America, we still have that. So,
yeah.
And because we still have it, we want to make sure that we're exercising that right. So,
and we want you to.
If you guys want to follow along, in the comments, I just posted an article that I came across this week that to say it infuriated me would be an understatement. So, what this article is it is gun violence in rural America rises when deer hunting season begins. And I saw it. And when I saw it, I was like, I just felt my blood boil almost instantly. And
Yeah.
the reason why is because I feel like there's always a push to imply like hunters are just dumb rednecks who are just out destroying and killing, and there's no sense of
Right. Among certain circles, there
Sure.
is for sure a thought that it no longer needs to be or
And-
shouldn't be, or like the what you're saying, that it is just it's a bunch of, knuckle dragging hillbillies that don't know nothing about the world, and they should stop what they're doing, and they're making things worse.
and that's not the case.
That's not the case. That's not
I
the
mean,
case. They have a vast
there's many.
misunderstanding or lack thereof. They're ignorant in the sense that they know nothing about what they're talking about.
Yeah.
And for the most part, concerning anything with any kind of weapon, the people that hate them the most know nothing about them. And then we deal with, this would be the political side, we deal with people making rules, regulations, and laws about something that they know nothing about.
Well, that's a problem drastically in the state
That's
in which
like
we
me.
live.
That's like me, casting shade on the heart doctors and the neurosurgeons,
Yeah.
telling them how they should be doing
You've
it
got no business.
when I know nothing about brain surgery.
Yeah.
It would be
You
a
have one.
comparison
That's
there.
about it.
I know I have a brain. I know about where it's located.
And
And
see,
my
these
wife
people,
would sometimes say maybe he doesn't have one. No, she would agree that I'm very smart. But sometimes we may not act like, but I have one. I know about where it's at, but that's about the extent of what I know about it.
and here's the thing, most of the time, what they're operating on is even less of an understanding because you have a brain. They're not around guns. They don't understand guns. I mean,
Or hunting.
currently, gosh, how do I handle this? Like, there are certain people in politics who think that a 9mm gun,
JD.
yeah, JD, we love you. There's certain people in politics that spout things that they have no idea about. And
Buy a shotgun.
that's right.
Yeah. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
Google that one and watch it.
And because of that, I feel a great need to defend the hunting community.
Well, that I'd say that word's right. I was going to say maybe defend's not the right word, but I'd say you're right. But at the same time, defend the hunting community, but maybe if a person's reasonable, and maybe some people are not reasonable. I know people I've seen situations where people were unreasonable, but if a person's reasonable, they should be able to sit down and you could explain. So maybe the word would be to help educate the uneducated. And I guess defend would be the right word. You feel that because you're a hunter and you're like, wait, I want to defend, who I am.
Yeah.
And
There's several levels of this that I really,
Yeah.
I'm trying to have to filter very well.
Okay.
Because I'm just telling you, in my heart of hearts, I want to be like, so the person who wrote this is a moron. Now that's how I want to respond. But I also want to make sure that I do it with an attitude of, if they were to come across this, that there's a reason why we're feeling that way, and that we
Right.
do it
How
in a
would
way.
we do it? I guess, how would we do it if that person was sitting on the other side of the table here?
Well, it would be very much on how they responded
And that's what I was saying
Yeah.
earlier. If a person is reasonable and will hear you out, and then if you would follow, we live in a day and age where they want to talk about data and statistics and charts. if they would look at the data, the statistics, and the charts on gun violence and hunting and everything that's within there, I would think they would have to be like, okay, you know, I see why you hunt. I see why it's important. I see that it's healthier. Well, there's a whole litany of stuff that we'll have to go down through here.
So let's just let's go down through this article. And I dove down through it, I mean hardcore, because I went down and read all the statistics that they're giving. And they are as shallow as statistics get. They were literally cherry picking in order to prove the point that they wanted to prove. And so, but the thing is, it gets national traction because U.S. News, Forbes, this was on Fox, and all these people are picking up this story like it has credibility. And it is absolute garbage.
All right. So like we said, you're more versed in it. So give us just some of the
what they're saying.
I don't know how in depth it is or how in depth you want to be, but go through it because some people may not still be full understanding what you're saying.
Yeah. So the title of the article is "Gun Violence in Rural America Rises When Deer Hunting Season Begins."
I could see where that's going to get somebody's attention.
Yeah, a little bit offensive right off the bat.
Well, I just mean from the other side of the aisle, so to speak, because if you've got somebody that thinks guns are the reason there's violence, and then you've got somebody that's anti-hunting, they read that and they're going to dive in and be all into that and share it with all their friends.
So let me see if I can pull this up here to where others can see what we're looking at. So here we go. So this article, I'm going to highlight this because I feel like it accentuates the fact or accentuates the argument that I'm making. Okay. So who wrote this? Well, they don't give a name. What they give is a tag, basically, and it's Girl Scientist. It's not even Girl, Girl. It's GRRL, Girl Scientist. Yeah. So that's her username that she's went with.
Okay.
And then they follow this nonsense with what their science is, I guess.
So you're going to share their science.
Is there an association between the opening of deer season and shootings in rural counties in the United States?
And they've got a picture there which shows you how much they know.
Sure. I mean, they've got a tatted up fella.
Yeah, that's got a t-shirt and blue jeans on in the mountains.
Yeah.
Which, you know, that's not your big known deer hunting area. Elk hunting and mule deer, obviously. But when you're talking about major deer hunting areas, you're talking Illinois, Pennsylvania, Iowa, Ohio. But anyway, he's standing there with a t-shirt on. I just want to make reference to that.
They pulled it off a Shutterstock.
It's a generic.
Or something.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. That's the point I'm making. Generic picture with a trap shooting gun over his shoulder, not a deer gun.
It follows right along with the point.
That's the point.
I mean, these people, they want to argue something that they really know nothing about. And how they begin is the old proverb derived from the biblical book of Matthew: long or live by the sword, die by the sword. So if you're not already ticking people off enough, let's try and use the Bible.
Let's twist it.
Yeah, let's twist the Bible in order to make sure that you gig them a little bit more.
Yeah, I know somebody else that did that with the word one time.
Yeah. Did you kill him?
No, his name was Lucifer, and he did it with Jesus. And he tried to take the word and twist it up to...
It didn't work out well for him, did it?
No. Actually, at that time, he would have been Satan. He lost his title, Lucifer.
So it says, this is predictive of our fraught relationship with guns and animals, particularly with wildlife. A new study warns that throughout rural America, the increased presence of loaded and unlocked guns in homes and vehicles when deer hunting season opens is likely contributing to an increase in gun injuries and homicides. More people were killed by gunfire in the first week of deer hunting season than in any other week of the calendar year, according to lead author of the study. So here's another thing that totally messes with this. When does deer season come in here? When's the gun season here?
Well, the first gun season here would be
Okay,
youth.
the first gun season.
Yeah. You got a youth season that's what, the second weekend
Yep.
of October.
So which one are they going by?
Who knows? Because there's
And all these
and
gun
every
seasons
state is-
don't overlap.
no, every state is
So how in the world can they say across the United States that that week is the week across the whole calendar year? So are they pulling that week per state? They don't specify that.
no.
Like it goes on to say, according to the lead author of the study, urban science or sociologist and criminologist Patrick Sharkey. Patrick, if you're listening, why don't you come on sometime and let's talk about this? Who is the William S. Todd Professor of Sociology and Public Affairs at Princeton University. Professor Sharkey research focuses on urban inequality, violence, and public policy.
I thought this was about rural America.
It really is.
not
So he
urban.
focuses on urban, but
Yeah.
somehow he's got to take a shot at the good old rural. As part of the study, Professor Sharkey and collaborators factored out gun deaths linked to hunting accidents in which were exceedingly rare to begin with.
There you go.
That's correct.
Got that one right.
Instead, they found that the availability of unlocked and loaded guns were linked to the greater risk of gun violence. Is it gun violence or is it gun accidents? Because there is a difference.
Well, sure, but he did just apply that hunting related gun accidents were few
Yeah.
in the scope of everything, I guess.
It would appear. I wonder if I can pull that up.
But what are you asking? Because
Well, what I'm saying is violence and gun related accidents are a different thing entirely.
entirely, yes.
So how are they determining what that
what was
is?
violent and what wasn't.
Yeah. And it would appear, and maybe I'm incorrect, but it would appear that Wayne County is not included in this study, but White County is, according to their map.
Yeah,
So,
interesting.
but to my knowledge, I don't know
Because
of
the
any.
dark
Yeah,
dark
all the
places are
dark
the
places
studied-
are included in the study.
or where they pulled data from.
Yes. So, and here's another thing. There's several of these places that I don't know if there is a deer season.
Well, that's something I couldn't answer. I mean, Alaska is almost totally darked out there.
Yeah.
Hawaii is totally darked out there, and I know for sure there are no white-tailed deer that I know of in Hawaii. They do hunt domesticated wild.
They do
the
have hogs. They've got
hogs
goats.
and goats, and they hunt goats, and they are, I guess you'd say, wild goats. But
But how are you specifying that it's deer season and the guns from deer season?
hold it together. We still got to.
I know, man.
I don't know, and I don't know that they'll ever let you know that. They're just pulling data that says. I'm assuming when they're throwing a broad net over, saying surely November to December is, for the most part, when most of your gun seasons for said deer, as they say, when deer season comes in, the country falls apart and anarchy
Yeah.
and gun violence goes through the roof.
So we've got Jay Wallace who just tuned in. Jay will appreciate this this podcast. So what we've got here is we've got
an article.
some people from apparently who's how do I say this? Educated in urban living, and
Sounds that way.
yeah, and they are trying to prove that rural America gets more dangerous when deer season is in regards to gun violence. It really is all about pushing an agenda that
Sure.
they want to prove.
So I could ask this question, everybody listening: do you feel unsafe when deer season comes in? You know?
I have before, but not because of violence. Like
No, that's what I'm saying. You feel like, guns violence is running rampant by November 10th.
Yeah.
or 21st or 20th, whenever season comes in.
and
No.
my major, oh gosh, there's so many
And
things
it's not
that frustrate
violence.
me
You
with
never
this.
felt scared for your life violence. You may have
No.
been nervous because you realized I'm in a woods with 10 other guys and there's 15 deer in here and there's 10 guys and there's about 42 rounds getting ready to pop off. And
Yeah.
that might have made you nervous.
But that's a different
That's
thing.
a whole different thing.
He says to test this idea, Professor Sharkey, so he did try and test it, and the collaborators examined and compared statistics collected between 2014 and 2021 on gun shootings occurring in 854 rural U.S. counties spread across 44 states. They found that the rate of firearm shootings that occurred in the first week following each county's opening date for the annual deer hunting season jumped by an average of 49%. Compared to shootings the week before, additionally, that rate was still 41% higher during the second week.
Is there any dates there? Any physical dates that they throw on that?
No. And
because I could just come out and say, well, I think it's because of Halloween.
Yeah.
It's post-Halloween, man. Everyone's got their evil on. So gun violence is up.
That almost carries more weight
well,
to me.
I'm just saying, what else could I say? Well, I could say, well, it's pre-Christmas. Everybody's got to get their presents did and shooting their neighbor and stealing their presents. That's you know what I'm saying? That sounds crazy, but it could be.
Here's my thing.
Has some of the same validities.
We live in rural America. When's the last time somebody got shot here?
I mean, it happens, but it pales in comparison to urban cities.
Okay, so it happens, yes. But how in the world can you differentiate 8% in a scenario where we're talking about it is hardly ever happens? Does that make any sense to you? Like, well, it went up from 41% to 49%. Well, we've not had anybody killed in the last 10 years by a gun. So how is that even possible?
Due to violence.
Yes. How can you say that is what happened?
I don't know where they're grabbing their data from. You know what I mean? It's like,
so here's the deal. I went and looked at their data, and their data is like, when I say it's shallow, it is like, it's like stepping your toes in a little pool that dribbled out from your toilet. I mean,
that's what they call a cesspool.
Yeah. Because what they found is that over the course of their study, in 305 of the 857 counties, 854 rural counties, 305 in 7 years had a person killed. A person. Do these people even look at what happens in Chicago every weekend? I mean, we live in a state where every weekend there's 20 people that get killed and murdered in the city of Chicago.
Right.
And they don't do it at the hand of hunters.
They're not somehow taking that and
No,
tying it in.
no,
None of that
because
data is pulled from the urban areas.
Rob, don't tell me to simmer down. I'm frustrated.
What I'm saying is, in all that, they're not pulling that data
They are not.
and incorporating that in. I mean, I guess what how am I going to word that? They're not saying, well, it's up in the cities because they're going to the country. It's still in the dumb
Are
deer
they eating a
hunter's
lot
rifle.
of peaches?
They're
Oh,
leaving the
man.
city. I figured it out. Here's what it is. They're leaving the city. They're coming down here and they're stealing our deer gun rifle because it's in our truck unlocked and just hanging out, loaded and just wrapped and ready for bear. And they're going back to the city to do their violence.
Well,
No, that ain't it. I'm being facetious.
yeah.
It's interesting that so you're telling me on that chart, the dark is where they pulled the data from.
That's it.
So northern Michigan would be a big deer hunting place. I see the whole northern cap is.
Yep. No, the UP.
Yeah. I guess that'd be a deer hunting area. I know Michigan's a deer hunting state. Pennsylvania's a big deer. New York's a big deer hunting state. Per capita, like Pennsylvania and New York, of deer hunters per square mile is one of the highest in the world, I think.
I mean,
Or it used
they've
to
got
be.
they've got Utah on here. Is there a big deer season in Utah?
Well, I'm sure there's probably mule deer hunting in Utah, and whitetails are the most broad deer in the United States as far as where their land coverage. I mean, they're from the east to the west coast.
They didn't do a single county in Wyoming because, Wyoming,
Conservative.
those are good people up there.
They would have probably tried, and they said, yeah, take your agenda someplace to
Yeah.
other state. We're not giving you no data.
Basically, the
conservative.
largest majority of their study came from
Like Iowa.
no,
Minnesota?
not even Iowa. It's Nebraska, and it came from Kansas and
down into Oklahoma.
That is almost the majority of their study.
Yeah, which those are deer hunting states down through there.
Those are.
But
it does appear that White County is on their list.
You White County violent people
right.
down there, they're just waiting for deer season to come in for gun violence to take off.
Here's one thing I wonder. I wonder if what determined whether they selected those counties or not. Did they look at all the counties as a whole and say, what counties would help us to argue this point?
That's what I'm saying. That's what I was getting ready to say.
Like,
so,
hey, there was a death in White County. We could use White County.
Yeah.
Well, there wasn't one in Wayne, so we're going to exclude Wayne.
Nowhere in that study does it talk about, and I'm asking you, I'm not saying it does, because you've read it. Does it say, because you would have to narrow it down, because deer season comes in November 20th, and then somebody gets shot November 21st, and you're grabbing that and saying, oh, and adding it to your statistics. But here's the deal. Was they shot with a gun that they stole from a deer hunter? Or was it a deer hunter that got upset and used his deer rifle or slug gun because here's the thing. If that's not the case, if they didn't do that act of gun violence with a gun that was taken or being used to hunt deer with, then the whole thing is bogus, right? Because just because somebody shot somebody during deer season, that gun more than likely didn't have nothing to do with deer hunting. And that makes the whole, in my mind, you tell me, and anybody can comment, to me, that makes the whole study bogus unless you said, yes, this person was shot at act of violence during deer season, and it was done with a gun that had been used for deer hunting. Because that's kind of what they're implying. Because deer season comes in, now there's guns all over the streets and everything.
So here's the study for those who are watching. It goes in this study. It says that the shootings in the first 3 weeks of deer season were compared with the 1 week prior to the start of deer season. So the article says throughout the entire year. The study was only done for 4 weeks.
Yeah.
All right. So that already debunks part of their
Yeah, and
argument.
that can be if it's only done 1 year, that can be an anomaly.
Absolutely.
That's like when I'm paper tuning somebody's bow. I was like, let's shoot it 3 and 4 and 5 times before we start moving it,
Yeah.
because it could be an anomaly there. You held that bow a little odd that time.
You sicko, using a bow. It says
bow violence has went up in Wayne County. This just in.
The results say this, that the sample, and I'll highlight this for those watching. The sample included 854 rural counties with a mean population of 16,416 per county.
A what population?
16,416
Go
per
back
county.
again, a what population?
A mean population. So, yeah.
Well, that's the problem. A bunch of mean people.
That's not what they're saying. Mean means average.
I know, but
that's funny. All right. So 5.4 annual shootings per 100,000 people. The county fixed effect specification analyzing the association between deer hunting season and shootings showed that relative to the week prior to deer hunting season, the incidence rate ratio for total shootings was 1.49 for the week of deer hunting season. It doesn't specify what it was for the week prior. For the second week, it was 1.41 for the second week of deer hunting season. Estimates remained consistent when excluding hunting accidents and were pronounced in the state with more hunting license per capita. So I'm just telling you, what I'm reading is it's very shallow.
Yeah, and it's almost like you just henpecked hunting season.
Absolutely.
Because I go back to what I said earlier. I could say, well, it's just because there's more people out and about because the holidays are coming, man. And the more people are moving, the more opportunity for evil people to do things.
Well, they sure imply like the crimes were violent, not just accidents, even though up just a minute ago in the results, it does say
I thought they said they were excluding the
oh, so
accidents.
excluding hunting accidents.
Yeah.
So they are excluding hunting accidents.
But they said the average was still up of gun violence.
Yeah.
And they're still equating that it just so happens that it's deer season.
Here's what I think
around the world.
Here's what I think it could be.
What about in China?
You've got
Russia?
guys who are getting ready to go deer hunting and wives who are like, are you seriously going to go deer hunting again?
And that's causing the violence.
That may be it.
I would lend to believe that because you're going into the holiday season and people are all over the place, hustle and bustle. They call it the holiday hustle and bustle. And evil people, when there's more opportunity, try to seize that opportunity. And it just so happens that in the holiday season, this is my hypothesis, in the holiday season, deer season's in.
Yeah. So we got Rob watching, and Rob threw up a comment. No hunter that likes or loves hunting and guns are not going to be reckless to the loss of their rights to have their guns. And I agree with that, Rob.
I agree too.
Hunters are going to be a people who are taking care of their rights and maintaining their rights. I mean, it's very rare that, gosh, I'm trying to leave conservative, liberal talking points out of this and just talk about the fact that I feel like if you watch TV, if you read articles and you hear anything relating to the American hunter, what you find is that they look at us in a manner that they think we're stupid. They think we're uneducated.
Yeah. Many of them think it needs to go away.
Yeah.
It's not needed anymore because we got a grocery store.
Yeah. So that being the case, it caused me to dive down the hole of what does that mean in regards to the American hunter? What does the American hunter do for conservation? Because I would argue that there is no other group in the world that contributes to conservation of animals like the American hunter.
No, no, I don't believe there is.
There's not.
There's not, because it's hard for them to understand, like with the white-tailed deer. I mean, we so love those animals.
We do.
I mean, and it's hard for someone that's never been a hunter maybe to understand, and maybe I can somewhat understand why they have a hard time understanding, because they've just not been there. But is because they're like, well, you go kill them. How can you love them? We so love them and want to protect them. And a good hunter don't just go in there and just overkill.
No.
I'm not going to the woods to kill 30 of them. I mean, how many do you sit and watch go by and you enjoy watching their mannerisms? And then we take it the step farther and we want to make sure they have habitat, and we want to make sure they have food. And I mean, I know hunters that are sincerely worried about how much food their deer have. And they're
Yes.
wild. And why, we got plenty of things to get worried about. But
When
it's
was the
because
last time you
we love
heard
them.
about PETA going out and planting food plots to make sure the deer were taken care of?
Right. And they're saying you're planting that food plot, and I'll just play the advocate a little bit, but they're saying, well, you're planting that food plot to pull them in there and shoot them.
And to make sure that they're healthy.
Yeah, they got the vitamins.
Yeah. Listen,
Yeah.
we set over food plots, and I want to clarify. I would say in any given deer season, we sit and watch hundreds of deer. Hundreds.
that we could shoot.
Absolutely.
It's not just senseless killing.
Absolutely not. But we sit and watch hundreds of deer unless you're JD Hewitt. JD Hewitt, he
Doesn't
watches
see.
snow deer. He watches snow deer.
That's a joke, JD. We know you see deer on TV.
But that being the case, we don't kill senselessly.
No, we pick one or two out.
Yeah. And we're like, and what are we picking? Mature.
Mature, generally, yeah.
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 We're either picking for mature in regards to trophy,
Right.
or we're
A big
picking
one.
mature in regards to food. Or if a guy wants something that's tender, he might shoot something a year and a half
yearling,
old.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
But a guy's not going in and being like, let's lay them all out.
right. And anybody that is doing that needs educated and needs reprimanded.
Unless it's required by conservation.
Yeah.
If there's a
'cause
place where it is
there
needed.
there is a scenario where they need to go in and remove a big part of a herd, because the herd, well, and many times it's because of people that don't understand, haven't left enough habitat for them and food, and the place where they are can't sustain them, and you need to take so many animals out of that area so that the ones that are there will flourish, and or they get so populated they deal with disease.
Yeah. I've not drank enough coffee today. I'm going to make sure I get some more in me. I mean, if you're a big follower of Uncle Ted, and across the hunting industry,
Being Ted Nugent.
yeah, Ted Nugent,
Some people
there's
may not
people
know.
who love him and people who hate him. But regardless of where you feel about him, one thing that he says that I agree with is that the hunting community needs to quit apologizing for who we are. And I agree 100%.
I agree. I don't apologize for who I am as far as hunting deer, rabbits, squirrels, coons, coyotes.
Yep.
It all has a purpose and a reason. And yes, it just so happens that we do enjoy it.
Yeah.
But I just sure don't apologize for it.
So let me get a little bit into some of the things that that this caused me to study out. because as I was reading this article and feeling the weight of propaganda from the urban community, I began to dive into what it looks like in their eyes, what conservation is. So
I'm trying to see it through the lens
Sure,
of what
yeah.
they think.
So I Googled what is the largest conservation group in the world. What I found was that it is the World Wildlife Federation. So,
Wildlife?
yep, World Wildlife Federation. See if I can bring this up.
Anything that has world in the beginning of the title bugs me.
Yeah, gives me heebie-jeebies.
Yeah.
So here we go. World Wildlife Federation. They have invested over $1 billion in more than 12,000 conservative initiatives since 1995.
Which does not sound like very much to me.
It
Since 90
really does not.
I mean, it's a lot. Don't get me wrong, but since 1995, you're
So,
looking at 20 years ago almost.
yeah, last year I looked up. Last year they brought in $252 million, of which 81% went towards conservative initiatives or conservative conservation projects.
Conservation,
Conservation projects of some sort. So the other nearly 20% went towards payroll and, lining pockets.
Lining the pockets of
Yeah.
the hierarchy of the world whatever federation.
So
Sounds like a wrestling.
World Wildlife Federation. Yeah. So I wondered if that's the case, and the largest, according to Google, the largest group in the world is giving across since 1995 $1 billion.
Almost 20 years.
So
almost 20
here's what
years.
I did. I
So
Googled
1 billion, but that whole 1 billion isn't given.
across.
Some of that's covering, you just said payroll, right?
No, that particular number is towards conservative initiatives.
So 20 years, 1 billion.
20 years, $1 billion.
Just shy of 20 years.
So I'm going to pull this up for all those watching. Because I think this proves a major point that the American hunter is highly overlooked. So let me stop sharing that one and pull up the next one. This one here is, where's it at? Sorry, I got to make sure I get the right one. It is, how many hunters in the United States? I think this is it. Nope, that's not it either. I'm sorry, folks. I'll get there.
Well, you're saying you're looking for all the.
Well,
data
I
that-
want to prove this point because if you've got Google, who right now is the largest source of information in the world right now. I mean, if you are looking up anything, you're using you're using Google primarily
Yeah.
to
What's
find
that?
it out.
Where does your hunting license fees go?
So
See it down there at the bottom. That's not the one you're looking for.
let me shave out some of these just so it might help. Age verification, don't need that one. And all right. So how many hunters in the US? Here we go. So approximately 25.87 million hunters in the United States. That's a lot of hunters.
Needs to be more than that.
It really does.
But
It
that's
used to
awesome.
be. It
Yeah.
actually says that number is down over the last couple years. So It accounts for 8.4% of the population. Let me see here. There's more information here.
So 25 million hunters in the U.S.
Yeah.
Across all 50 states.
And of those, 15.9 million were license holding. So the other 10 million are kids.
I was going to say potentially
Kids or senior citizens,
seniors,
possibly.
Because I was going to say most places, once you hit a certain age, you don't have to buy a hunting license no more.
So 15.9 million Americans are holding hunting license. Well, what does that equate to in funds? That was my next question.
It's a fair amount.
It is a lot. It is. I'm telling you, it's all about
playing games,
figuring out the stepping stones here. So this pertains primarily to the shrinking numbers. Here we can see that over a 5-year period from 2017 to 2021, it went from 27 million to 25.87 million. That is on us. That's something that as hunters we should be passing down.
Yeah. Quit being so greedy. Take your kids.
Yep, that's right.
Let your neighbor hunt your property.
So we're going to stop sharing that one. And how much of hunting license goes to conservation? What does that say, Lathan?
Where at?
How much of hunting license goes toward conservation?
The part you have highlighted, I'm assuming. 100%.
How much?
100%.
It equates to more than 1 billion a year nationally.
So the hunters
have done more in 1 year
than they've done in 20
since 1995.
Yeah.
Put that in your pipe and smoke it.
Right. Well, that should end the argument, I mean,
it really should, because at the end of the day,
here, let's do this. This is totally off script, but the other one was what? Last year they took in what?
Last year they took in 252 million.
So let's say over an average, every year they just took in 180 million. Because I'm sure back 20 years ago they didn't take in.
Sure.
So let's say they took in. Let's go even down. Let's go 150 million. 150 million times 20. Can you do that in your head?
150 million times 20?
Let's say on average they took in 150 million a year.
So that would be that's terrible, but
I can't do that in my head, but I can jump out here and do it on the calculator if I even know how to type that.
It's 3 billion.
It's 3 billion.
Yeah.
So they've done something with 2 billion. Because they only gave 1 billion of it to conservation. Their numbers go the other way.
Yeah, that is
and
true.
It's far more than that, because the last year they took in 250 million.
Well, let's for the sake of hoping that they're integral people, only got 25 the first year.
Yeah, but I'm saying that's why I went down to 150.
Sure.
They could have had, golly gee, they could have had 18 years where they took in 200 million.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, they only gave 1 billion, and there's 2.5 billion out there floating around that either went in people's pockets, that paid somebody to drive around and say, yeah, I need to mow the grass there, or something like that. I don't know. I don't know what it all details, but I'm just saying.
I went as far as to look at how many people they employ.
Okay, let's go deeper.
They employ 1,760 people.
That's pretty good salaries.
Yeah. It really is.
I mean,
yeah.
that means you've got 1,700 people, and you've got.
Here's the thing: if they have 1,760 people,
And I'm glad people are employed.
Sure.
I'm not against the deal.
No, but if they've got 1,760 people on salary, that means there's or employed. It's not on salary; it's employed, and you know that there's people that are janitors, or people that are, and I think the CEO they said got $1.2 million a year. And honestly, to me, that's all. I really don't care about that stuff.
Right.
Like, but I wish there was recognition of the fact that the American hunter is so important to the system.
Yeah.
The American hunter is what moves things along in regards to conservation.
Yes, that he just, and this is a small part, but he just by buying a hunting or fishing license put in 1 billion in a year. He and she.
Yeah.
They put in $1 billion a year just from that, and that ain't tags. So start figuring tags, and then.
Well, I think it's including tags. But one thing it doesn't include is it doesn't include what they're doing on personal levels.
Yeah, for sure.
It doesn't include the sale of firearms, because whenever a firearm is sold, it's taxed.
Yeah.
And that tax for firearms goes towards conservation. A lot of people don't realize that. Whenever fishing tackle, whenever fishing rods, anything, a boat is taxed, and all that money goes towards conservation. Yeah. So,
which not all boaters are hunting and fishing, but
no,
but a good number of them are.
Yeah.
Especially fishing, but also hunting. You got duck, goose, and all that stuff.
Yeah. So all of those things, to me, really make a strong case that the American hunter is extremely important to the system.
Yeah, we're holding this whole baby together.
Yeah, that's right.
But back to your article, whoever wrote that article would probably endorse and support that. What was it? The WWF.
Yeah. The big elbow.
They should have thought that through.
People's champion.
They would probably support, what was it? The World Wildlife
Federation.
Yeah, the WWF. Those people would probably support that, but then they would not condone the American hunter.
Yeah.
They would be against, well, by them putting an article out saying that because deer season comes in, gun violence goes up. That is a
World Wildlife Fund. That makes it better. Federation does.
It's still the WWF.
Yeah, that's right.
But they would be against the hunter, and they'll endorse that. I'm just hypothetically saying they would. I don't know if they would or not, but they would probably get behind the WWF in the sense of the World Wildlife Fund.
Yeah.
They may even give to it if you asked them. I'll give to that. But then they would not endorse, or they would be strictly against you as a hunter.
Yeah.
When you did more for the very thing that they're trying to give into in 1 year than they did in 20.
Yeah.
That pretty much slices that where you can see through it.
I bet Girl Scientist probably has purple hair and a real global agenda.
Which, if you missed the beginning, Girl Scientist was the title of the...
That's the person who wrote the article. That's right. Because these days, you don't need to give your name to write an article. Nah, you can just throw a tag
it out there
on
and put some sort of generic name on it. And don't even spell girl right. Just put it GRRL.
Girl!
Is that what they do? Yeah.
Girl. Well, she's, I don't know.
Anyway.
Whatever.
Yeah.
So that's my thoughts on it for this evening. And that's where I stand.
So gun violence goes up, according to Girl.
Yeah. Well, according
And
to the study
Shrinky.
from Princeton,
What was the guy's name? Shrinky?
Shrinky. I don't think it was Shrinky. I think it was Sharky.
Shinky, Sharky,
Yeah.
Swanson, Swimmy, Swanson, Samsonite.
We were totally
I
off.
knew it.
Professor Sharky.
Sharky.
Yeah.
Sounds Sharky to me.
Yeah.
And he had a PhD from Princeton.
Yeah.
And he done a study that says because of the great deer hunt, gun violence goes up.
Something smells fishy.
Something smells Sharky.
Oh, man.
Well, at the end of it, when you dig into it, the best of your studies, what'd you come up with? You come up with that the water was shallow that they pulled the data from.
Very much so.
And it was probably very, like I said earlier, I don't know how to say this, but anomaly, because you would need to do, and maybe they did, maybe I don't know, but I would think you'd need 5 or 6 or 7 years of data to say, oh,
well, they did
my
take
land.
7 years of data.
Oh,
so
they did.
Yeah, they did
Well.
take 7 years of data. But the problem is in rural communities, how much, like, it's not as though every year we are having a person murdered. How can you?
They're very seldom and few and far between.
Yeah.
Very,
So to argue,
I don't know
that,
about you people in the city, if you ever hear this, but us out here in rural America, here we are in Southern Illinois, and our county's the biggest city within, 50 miles is what, 20,000 people?
14.
Is that what Mount Vernon is?
14,
15,000.
At one time it was 16. I heard it went down.
Well, whatever. So say under 20,000 people, and gosh, our little towns that we live in and call our home of 5,000, and the town I live in is 1,500, and what's the town that's closest to you? Is 5-ish?
Just under, I think.
So, and it's a very few and far between thing of gun violence where we're at. So that you'd have to pull some.
I'm just telling you, when violence occurs, it's never because someone was a hunter.
Yeah.
It's because
it's not that we can't say that hunters have never committed violence, because sure they have, but you can't go back and say it's because deer season came in. You know what I mean? I can't tie, and I know we're looking at a small part of the world, but I made jokes of it earlier, but it was like, oh, deer season's in, kids stay in the house, everybody lock the doors, pull your deadbolts, pull your blinds, put the bars up because it's getting bad, deer season's in. No, matter of fact, it's a joyous time around here. For most people, everybody's telling their stories and enjoying life out in the woods.
I guess my largest argument is it's really stretching things. Like to make, absolutely. So it's like me going outside and saying, oh, there's clouds in the sky. But my wife loves that.
Yeah.
And you being like, why would your wife love it? Well, clouds are fluffy and I've got pillows on my bed and my wife put those there. So I bet she loves it.
Yeah.
It's like trying to
earlier,
jump across things.
I mean, I can say, well, Halloween's close to that. So that's the reason gun violence is up. I can say because the holidays, the hustle and bustle, that's the reason gun violence up. I can say because the weather's getting cool and everybody's more cranky because they missed the warm sunshine. That's why gun violence is up. I can say, well, it's getting dark earlier and people can't see, so they're just mad at the world and they're shooting into the darkness. That's because gun violence is up. I can say all kinds of things, and it has about as much validity, it sounds like to me, as what they said in their article.
Yeah. So that's where I was coming from this evening. I really just wanted to talk about the importance of the hunter. I want to talk about how the hunter appreciates conservation. The hunter looks at the world around him and says, how can I make it better?
Because here's the deal: as a hunter, a hunter makes it better for whatever he is hunting. That's his heart.
Yeah.
A rabbit hunter wants to make sure there's more brush.
Absolutely.
And cover, the right type of cover for the rabbits to thrive. A quail hunter wants to make sure that there's fence rows left and the right kind of brush for the quail to thrive in. A deer hunter wants to make sure there's enough woods, draws, and the right kind of food to make the deer thrive there. It's and I'll tell you where they need to pull their test from to see how great hunters are and what they can do for an area is go to South Africa, because some of those places in South Africa, if you do studies, they have turned their economies and turned things on end, have stopped wrong killing with poaching and stuff like that. And they have the animals thrive there, and they've got systems put in place that, is bar none.
Well, hunting
second to none.
Hunting has drastically changed the landscape
And
of
I would
South
say
Africa.
to some degree, probably made violence go down.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And what it has done is it's made prosperity go up. I'm not saying that South Africa is like a super prosperous place, but what it has done is it's taking outsiders, bringing them in, and incorporating outside money into their local economy,
into their economy,
and
food,
because all of the animals that are killed are given to local tribes or given to the guys that are helping track and
feeding their families.
Absolutely.
And I've watched the videos and I've heard firsthand accounts of people that come back from South Africa and says it is an amazing thing to watch all those people to come together and see all the smiling faces when you start handing them coolers of kudu meat or Gemsbuck meat or Cape Buffalo meat. I hope to get to do that.
Yeah. One of these days we need to touch on what we were talking about before.
What's that?
About the insurance. I feel like insurance companies need to pay us to hunt.
It could be a whole nother probably podcast. But
it probably could be. We ought to get some insurance agent on here.
Maybe just give the people, because we're getting long all of a sudden.
Yeah.
So give the people just a glimpse and let people comment. Comment about what you think.
So if you guys get a chance, let me know your thoughts. Here's my thought. I feel like insurance companies ought to provide some sort of premium rebate for the hunter. We are making sure that the roads are safer by taking deer out of the population. And by doing so, I think for every hunter that goes and applies for a license, if they show that, their insurance company should provide them with some sort of rebate, maybe just to pay for the license or something along those lines. Because in my opinion, the insurance companies need the American hunter. The insurance companies are, they're dealing with deer getting killed on the roads all the time.
Automobiles,
yeah. So you would think that they would be like, we want to promote that. We want to promote hunting. We want to promote conservative conservation. Keep wanting to say conservative.
Yeah, because part of conservation is keeping that herd to a sustainable number for the area and the population of people that's there, the whole 9 yards, and that's what we do.
Absolutely. All right, let's shut it down and head home. But we appreciate everybody who's tuned in this evening. Rob, Jay, Paul. There's been several others that have tuned in. Dale Martin. Dale, we appreciate you tuning in. Guys, we appreciate JD tuning in as well. I don't know if he caught my little jab, but maybe he will at some point. So
he'll send it back to you one of these days.
Yeah, he's pretty witty. So, all right, here we are, head up for discussion, and for this evening, we are out.
We're out.
Yep. You guys have a good evening, and we will catch you on the flip side. Will we be on in the morning? Probably not, right?
Why is that?
I don't know. Maybe we will.
Are you going to be here?
I will try. We'll probably be on.
We'll see you.
Yep. We'll catch you guys later. You guys have a good one. This has been Up for Discussion. Bye-bye.